People will tell you that kindness is a virtue, that you should be good to everyone, that the world needs more gentle souls. And that's true. Kindness is powerful. But let me tell you something that most people won't. Kindness should never come at the cost of your self-respect. Because the moment you start handing out kindness with no boundaries, with no filter, with no sense of who is worthy of it and who is simply taking advantage, you become a doormat. And let me make this very clear. You were not created to be walked on. Some of you are exhausted right now, not because you're working too hard, not because life is unfair, but because you have given too much of yourself to people who don't deserve it. You've poured out your energy trying to please folks who never even say thank you. You've been over backward to make sure everybody else is comfortable while you sit there drained, empty, running on fumes. And for what? For the approval of people who will never truly appreciate you? For validation from those who only come around when they need something? Listen, kindness is a beautiful thing, but not when it costs you your dignity. There is nothing noble about being kind to someone who constantly disrespects you. There is nothing virtuous about allowing people to use you as an emotional dumping ground, as a stepping stone, as a safety net for their irresponsibility. Somewhere along the way, you were convinced that if you just keep being nice, if you just keep turning the other cheek, eventually people will see your worth. But let me tell you the truth. The people who take advantage of your kindness are not suddenly going to wake up one day and start respecting you. No, they will keep taking, they will keep pushing, keep pulling, keep draining you because you've never given them a reason to stop. You teach people how to treat you. Every time you allow disrespect and respond with kindness, you are teaching them that it's okay to do it again. Every time you bend when you should stand tall, you are showing them that you will always accommodate their bad behavior. And let me tell you something, people will take what you allow. They will go as far as you let them. Some of you have been holding on to relationships, friendships, family ties, business connections, simply because you feel obligated to be kind. But let me ask you this. When has their presence in your life ever felt like a blessing instead of a burden? When have they ever poured back into you the way you have poured into them? See, kindness is not just about giving. It's about knowing when to stop giving. It's about recognizing when your kindness is turned into self-sacrifice and when your generosity is no longer a gift but a curse. Some of you need to learn the power of the word no. No, I will not keep giving to someone who only takes. No, I will not keep saying yes to people who never show up for me. No, I will not keep extending kindness to those who have no intention of ever reciprocating it. And if that makes me the bad guy in someone's story, so be it. I'd rather be the villain in their version of events than the victim in my own life. Kindness should never make you small. It should never make you invisible. It should never make you feel like less than what you are, because real kindness, true, authentic kindness, doesn't ask you to shrink yourself to fit into spaces where you're not valued. Real kindness isn't about pleasing everyone. It's about knowing when to walk away from people who don't respect your presence. You are not here to be drained. You are not here to be used. You are not here to keep giving to people who take you for granted. So stop handing out kindness like it's free. Stop thinking that if you just love harder, give more, tolerate more, things will change. They won't. Some people will never respect you until you stop being so available. Some people will never value you until you stop making them a priority. And some people will never see your worth until you show them what it looks like when you're no longer at their service. So let me leave you with this. Kindness without self-respect is self-destruction. Be kind, but don't be foolish. Be giving, but don't be taken for granted. And above all, never, ever trade your dignity just to make someone else comfortable. Because the moment you do, you've already lost. Told to be kind to everyone. We're taught that kindness is the answer, that if we just treat people well, they'll treat us the same. But let me tell you something, not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone is worthy of what you have to give. And if you don't learn how to discern who's for you and who's against you, you'll spend your life pouring into people who are draining you dry. See, some of you have been kind to the wrong people for too long. You keep showing up for folks who wouldn't even notice if you disappeared. You keep checking on people who never check on you. You keep loving people who only use you as an option while you make them a priority. And the truth is, they don't deserve the level of access you're giving them. Some people see your kindness as a weakness. They see your generosity as something to exploit. They see your heart as something they can manipulate. They know you'll always be there, so they take advantage of that. They know you'll always forgive, so they never change. They know you'll keep being kind, so they keep pushing the limits of your patience, your energy, your time. And the longer you allow it, the worse it gets. You've got to wake up and realize that just because you have a good heart doesn't mean you're supposed to waste it on people who don't appreciate it. You weren't put on this earth to be used. You weren't meant to be somebody's emotional punching bag, their backup plan, their safety net. You are more than that. And if you don't start recognizing your own worth, nobody else will. Some of you are afraid to stop being kind to certain people because you don't want to seem mean. You don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want anyone thinking you've changed. But let me tell you, it's okay to change when you've been too kind for too long. It's okay to stop giving when you realize you've been taken for granted. It's okay to walk away when the only thing keeping you there is guilt. There are people in your life right now who only love what you do for them. They don't love you. They love the way you cater to them, the way you make their life easier, the way you always show up no matter how badly they treat you. And the moment you stop giving, the moment you stop making sacrifices for them, watch how fast they disappear. That's how you know who truly values you. That's how you know who's really in your corner. Because real relationships, real friendships, real love, none of that is based on what you can give. None of that should be transactional. And the moment you realize that, you start moving differently. Some of you have been running on empty, trying to please people who don't even care. And for what? To keep a toxic friendship alive, to maintain a one-sided relationship, to be liked by people who wouldn't even lift a finger for you. Enough of that. You deserve better. You deserve people who see your kindness and respect it, not exploit it. You deserve people who pour back into you, who appreciate your presence, who show up for you, not just when they need something, but because they genuinely care. So stop being afraid to disappoint people who don't care if they disappoint you. Stop being scared to set boundaries with people who have no problem crossing them. Stop feeling guilty for finally choosing yourself. Because if someone only values you when you're bending over backward for them, they never valued you in the first place. Kindness is powerful, but only when it's given to the right people. When you keep handing it out to those who don't deserve it, it loses its value. And you weren't meant to be taken for granted. You weren't meant to be used up and thrown away. You were meant to be cherished, respected, and valued. But that only happens when you start being selective with your kindness. Because not everyone deserves it. And once you learn that, you'll never move the same way again. Some of you have been kind for so long that you don't even realize you've become invisible. You show up for everybody. You make sure everyone else is okay. You put other people's needs before your own, thinking that one day someone will do the same for you. But let's be real. How often does that happen? How often do the people you constantly prioritize turn around and prioritize you? See, when you're too kind to everyone, when you always say yes, when you always accommodate, people start seeing you as a convenience rather than a person. They get used to your presence. They get comfortable with your sacrifices. They don't acknowledge what you do because to them it's just expected. You've been showing up so consistently, making their lives easier, that they don't even stop to appreciate it. And before you know it, you faded into the background. You're there, but you're not seen. You exist, but you're not valued. Some of you are sitting in rooms right now where people don't recognize your worth, not because you're not valuable, but because you've made them too comfortable with your kindness. You've been so reliable that they don't even question whether you'll be there. You've been so giving that they don't even stop to think about what you might need. And the worst part, you keep allowing it. You keep thinking that if you just give a little more, if you just love a little harder, if you just stay a little longer, they'll finally see you. But they won't. Some of you are waiting for permission to be recognized. You're waiting for someone to call your name, to tell you that you matter, to acknowledge all the things you've done in silence. But the truth is, if you don't start making yourself a priority, if you don't start valuing yourself enough to be seen, no one else is going to do it for you. You've got to stop thinking that kindness alone will get you the respect you deserve. It won't. If kindness is all you bring to the table, people will take what they need and keep moving. You need to bring something else. Presence. You need to bring confidence. You need to bring the kind of energy that makes people stop and pay attention. Because when you walk into a room and act like you don't deserve to be there, people will believe you. But when you walk in knowing your worth, people feel that too. Some of you have been invisible for too long. You've been standing on the sidelines, cheering for everybody else while no one even notices you. But that ends today. You are more than a support system. You are more than a backup plan. You are more than a convenience. You deserve to be seen, but first you have to see yourself. And when you finally do, everything changes. Somewhere along the way, people started believing that kindness and strength can't exist in the same person. That if you're kind, you have to be soft. That if you're generous, you have to be passive. That if you're compassionate, you have to be a pushover. But let me tell you something. Kindness without assertiveness is just an open invitation for people to take advantage of you. See, too many people think that being kind means you have to say yes to everything, that you have to tolerate disrespect, that you have to keep the peace at the expense of your own well-being. But real kindness, true powerful kindness, doesn't ask you to shrink yourself. It doesn't ask you to be silent when you should speak. It doesn't ask you to bend so far that you break. Because there is no strength in a kindness that allows people to walk all over you. Some of you have been taught that saying no is wrong, that setting boundaries is selfish, that standing up for yourself is unkind. And that's why you keep giving when you're empty. That's why you keep tolerating things you shouldn't. That's why you keep smiling when you really want to walk away. But let me be clear. Being kind doesn't mean being weak. Being kind doesn't mean letting people mistreat you. Being kind doesn't mean sacrificing your dignity just to make someone else comfortable. You can be kind and still demand respect. You can be kind and still say no. You can be kind and still walk away from situations and people that don't serve you. See, real kindness isn't about pleasing everybody. It's about knowing when to give and when to withhold. It's about knowing when to speak up and when to stay silent. It's about knowing when to fight and when to let go. Some of you are drained right now because you've been too kind to people who don't deserve it. You've been too accommodating to those who take advantage of your generosity. You've been too afraid of being seen as rude. Too afraid of upsetting people, too afraid of being disliked, and that fear has kept you stuck in places where you are not valued. But hear me when I say this. If your kindness isn't met with respect, it's being wasted. Some people only understand boundaries when you set them. Some people will never appreciate your kindness until you stop giving it so freely. Some people will never respect you until you stop making it so easy for them to take advantage of you. You don't need to be cruel. You don't need to be harsh, but you do need to be firm. You do need to stand your ground. You do need to understand that being a good person doesn't mean allowing yourself to be used. It's time to stop being afraid of being misunderstood. Some people will call you selfish when you start prioritizing yourself. Let them. Some people will say you've changed when you stop allowing them to take advantage of you. Let them talk. Some people will try to make you feel guilty when you start saying no. Let them feel however they want to feel. Because at the end of the day, your peace is more important than their opinion. Being too nice without boundaries doesn't make you a good person. It makes you an easy target. And you were not put on this earth to be used up and discarded. You were not created to be a stepping stone for people who don't respect you. So be kind, but be kind with wisdom. Be kind, but be kind with discernment. Be kind, but be kind with the strength to walk away when your kindness is no longer appreciated. Because when you learn how to balance kindness with assertiveness, you don't just gain respect, you gain freedom. Some of you are exhausted and you don't even know why. You wake up tired, you go to bed drained. You try to push through, but no matter what you do, it feels like you're always running on empty. And it's not because you're weak. It's not because you're lazy. It's not because life is just too hard. It's because you keep giving your energy to people who don't deserve it. See, your energy is a limited resource. You don't have an endless supply of time, patience, or emotional strength. But some of you are out here handing it out like it's free. You're pouring into people who never pour back into you. You're showing up for people who wouldn't even notice if you stopped. You're making yourself available to everyone, stretching yourself thin, and then wondering why you feel so empty. Let me tell you something. You cannot save everyone. You cannot be everything to everybody. You cannot keep sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't lift a finger for you. And if you don't start protecting your energy, if you don't start being intentional about where you invest it, you will keep feeling drained, used, and unappreciated. Some of you are walking around tired, not because life is hard, but because you've been fighting battles that aren't even yours to fight. You've been trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed. You've been carrying burdens that were never yours to carry. You've been giving and giving, hoping that one day someone will see your worth, but all they've done is take more. You've got to understand that not everyone is worth your time. Not everyone deserves your kindness. Not everyone should have access to you. Because the wrong people will drain you, distract you, and keep you from becoming who you were meant to be. And you don't owe anybody an explanation for protecting your peace. Some of you are afraid to pull back because you think it makes you a bad person. You think if you stop answering every call, stop saying yes to every request, stop trying to keep everyone happy, that somehow you're being selfish. But let me ask you this. When was the last time someone prioritized you the way you prioritized them? When was the last time someone made sure you were okay before asking you for something? You need to stop feeling guilty for putting yourself first. Because the people who truly care about you, the people who genuinely value you, will understand. They won't guilt trip you. They won't call you selfish. They won't disappear the moment you stop overextending yourself. The right people won't drain you. They'll refill you. But you'll never know who those people are if you keep giving to everyone. You'll never know who really values you if you keep making yourself available to those who only take. You've got to start protecting your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. The wrong people will drain you of everything and then move on to the next person. But the right people will remind you that you don't have to do it all alone. The right people will pour back into you. The right people will love you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. So stop letting just anybody have access to you. Stop giving your energy to people who don't respect it. Stop running yourself into the ground trying to prove your worth to people who will never see it. You are worth more than that. Your peace is worth more than that. And the moment you start protecting your energy, you'll realize just how much of it you were wasting on people who never deserved it in the first place. Some of you have been holding on to people, relationships, and situations that no longer serve you. You keep making excuses, telling yourself that if you just give it a little more time, if you just try a little harder, if you just keep being patient, things will change. But deep down, you already know the truth. You already know that some people are not meant to go where you're going. You already know that certain relationships have run their course. You already know that you're holding on to something that's been holding you back. Some of you have people in your life right now who are not for you. They don't support you. They don't uplift you. They don't bring out the best in you. But because you've known them for years, because you share history, because you're afraid of cutting ties, you keep them around. You let them have access to you, even though they bring you nothing but stress, doubt, and negativity. But hear me, you do not owe anyone a permanent seat in your life just because of history. If they are no longer good for you, if their presence is costing you your peace, your growth, your joy, it's time to let them go. But let me tell you something, there is no growth in comfort. There is no elevation in staying in the same place, doing the same things, surrounding yourself with the same people who aren't going anywhere. If you want to grow, if you want to become who you were created to be, you have to learn how to let go. Let go of the dead weight. Let go of the relationships that don't serve you. Let go of the mindset that tells you to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. Letting go doesn't mean you're bitter. It doesn't mean you're angry. It doesn't mean you don't care. It simply means you respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that no longer aligns with who you're becoming. It means you understand that not everyone is meant to stay in your life forever. Some people were only supposed to be part of your journey for a season. Some friendships, some relationships, some connections were never meant to last. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you can free yourself from the unnecessary weight that's been slowing you down.